Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
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 Got enough to get started. Am I correct that we have quorum? Great. Jessica, do you want to start by calling the roll?
Will do. All right, I'm just gonna go down the list and name off everybody that I've checked off so far. And then at the end, if I missed you, if you'll let me know. So I see Aubrey, Kim, Oren, Tamara, Sharon, Roy, Miley Foster, Shelley, Ed, Anne, Rick Hoover, Donna Wood, Bill, Jessica McMullen, Dave Betzler. Is there any committee members that I missed that joined the line?
I'm still not on the attendance list.
I just noticed that. I added you on this one, so you are on it now. And
Thank you.
here. I saw it and remembered that from last time, so I got you good on here. All right, so when you make a motion and whatnot, just make sure to state your name. You can use the chat feature to talk to yourself or to everybody. If you can't quite get a word in, sometimes that happens. Sometimes the mute is funny. So if you're not speaking, if you could keep yourself on mute. It also helps if you turn off your camera every now and then if you're lagging. That's a useful method. Other than that, make sure that you use really good descriptions when describing your items or things like that when you're speaking to packet items. Not everybody is always able to see what you're talking about. So if you'll just keep those things in mind, I will hand it back to Aubrey.
Great, thank you. So it doesn't appear we have any guests on the line. Did we receive any email comments?
No public comments were sent to myself.
Okay, great. All right, so let's start with consent items. Does anyone have any concerns with the consent items? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
Patty Mencher, I motion to approve.
Thanks, Patty.
Kelly Roars, I second.
Did you get the second, Jessica? Great. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Great. Okay. All right, we'll get back to the. All right, so no public comments. Looks like we can jump right in, Catherine, to the tip amendment number 4.
Thanks. It's Catherine Winger, PPACG planner. So this is a request for a tip amendment to our federal fiscal year 21 through 24 tip. The request is, there are 3 different, make sure I have these right. It's like 5 different items, 6 different items requested based on a few meetings that we've had. So in June and August, we sent out emails to our TAC members regarding availability of some SDP Metro funds. That was about 3.4 million. We did receive 3 applications for that, and we held a TAC project selection workshop at that meeting. However, and then at the following TAC meeting, Colorado Springs and El Paso County requested to hold off to have further discussion to try and ensure that both of them and Fountain could get as much money as they possibly could for their project cost overruns. And so we held that off and had some additional meetings with them, and then came up with a different solution that brought more money to the table, which is what you see, the amount of just over $7.4 million that were made available to go towards projects currently listed in the TIP that needed some additional funds. And so kind of what the solution that was suggested and recommended approval by TAC was to provide $500,000 to Fountain for their Indiana project, which was the full request amount that they asked for, to help with cost overruns due to increased railroad costs. And then the next request would be to return the funding from a Hancock and Academy multimodal project from Colorado Springs. This was sits in the years 21 and 22, and they would return all the funds there, just over $2 million, and would return that to the regional pool. And they would request PPRTA funds to complete that project instead. And that's not, at that point, that would be all Colorado Springs and PPRTA and no longer our project. And then the next item request would be El Paso County would return Walker Road corridor improvements in fiscal year 21 for about they have 4.2 million in the TIP, but they would only return about 1.9. Sorry, there were a lot of numbers going around in this situation. They would return 1.9 in 2021 so that Colorado Springs could use those funds in 2021. And then you see Walker Road requesting that 1.9 million back in 2022 to make that project whole again. The reason this was needed was because money was made available by Hancock in 22. In order for Colorado Springs to use that money in 21, we had to make money available because we have to stay fiscally constrained in each year of the TIP. So we can't go over a certain amount. And so that's why we have to shift funds around with those projects. The next request would be 30th Street, the roadway and safety improvements. This is a project that needs the cost overruns for Colorado Springs. They would get just over $2.3 million for theirs project, and that includes some of the Hancock money and then some of the money that we already had available from the other funds. And then finally, we also have El Paso County, which has multiple projects that would get local match replacements. So you'll see that it shows $0 before, and then they would get 2.6 million of federal funds for these local match. The way this would work is CDOT has offered a toll credits, which can be local match replacements. And so in order to replace your local match with toll credits, you also have to have federal funds to replace those with. We can explain that a little better if you need, but because it's kind of a little confusing. But in essence, they would be replacing some of their local match requirements on multiple projects with these federal funds and then and toll credits. And so those are all of the requests that are being made. And I can stop there and see if anyone has any specific questions, since there's a lot of pieces moving there.
Yeah.
I just want to comment, this is Tamara Stiffner, that first I recommend what you're requesting, these changes requesting. I'm also happy to see that this process is working. For several years, we went through this process of how would this actually work, of the different entities in the PPACG getting money and giving money back when they didn't need it, and then getting it when they need it. And so we're not missing out any timelines or any, spending deadlines. So I think this is great. I said all the different entities are working together. I see El Paso County giving some money to 30th Street for Colorado Springs, and then getting that money back later on when they can use it. And because I know 30th Street project there's a lot of overruns due to unknown factors and major water quality treatment structures being built. So this is really nice. So I definitely approve it. Thanks.
There's definitely a lot of working together with El Paso County and Colorado Springs and Fountain. So definitely good to see. Thanks.
Great. Any other questions for Catherine or comments? And Catherine, is that all for this particular item before we do a motion?
Yeah, I guess it is actually. So I stopped at the end.
Great. All right. I'll give just another minute for any comments or if anyone wants to chime in with a motion.
I move to approve and move to recommend as it is.
Thank you, Tamara. Any second?
Sharon Brown, I second.
Thank you, Sharon. Any additional comments? Great. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Okay, Catherine, next one.
All right. So this is going to be amendment number 5 to the tip, and I separated these just so that we didn't get confused by all the pieces moving. So that's why they're in 2 amendments in the same month. Let's see. So the memo you see before you is actually what happened, are the items that happened before the TAC met. So unfortunately, this agenda had to go out before the TAC met and made their recommendations on updating our programming in the tip. And so I believe, did the attachment 2 go out? I'm not sure, but I'll go.
I believe so.
Okay. I can, Jess, if you could pull that up while I'm talking about the agenda, please. I believe that's it's in the folder as attached
Gotcha.
in addition. Yes, late edition. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so back to the memo real quick. So CDOT recently released some updated programming allocations. We base our tips typically on estimates that we have received over the last years, and we kind of estimate what we're going to have in the next 4 years. And so sometimes those allocations get updated, and they tell us what our actual numbers are, or they update what our future numbers might be. And so from those updated numbers, we did under program in some of the years, and then we over programmed in a couple of the other. And so this item is to adjust the projects that are programmed and the amounts that they're programmed at to make sure that we stay within that fiscal constraint that I mentioned before. About each year we have to make sure we maintain the estimated amount that we have for each year. And so in the memo, it talks about STP Metro and TAP. Those are the 2 different funds that we allocate. And we are under in 2022 for both, and then we're over in 23 and 24. And so at the TAC, we discussed which projects could essentially remove some of the funding in 23 and 24, and then potentially use some of the remaining funds in 22 and start that project earlier, but still keep the project whole. So luckily, we had El Paso County that was able to have that option for us. And so there are 2 projects, STP Metro, the El Paso County ADA Compliance Program, which is listed in attachment 1, but attachment 2 kind of goes over what we're going to change. So ADA program will remove $71,000 and $31,000 in 23 and 24, and then add that money in 2022. And so they'll their existing funding will just swap into 2022, the funds that we needed. And then the same thing will happen with TAP. The El Paso County had another project that they were able to release some of the funding in 23 and 24 and then add it in 2022 for their Galley Road sidewalk project. And so luckily we didn't have any issues. It was just, kind of a quick swap, and we really appreciate El Paso County stepping up and being able to help us out with that. And then you might notice that some of the funds actually still are available in 2022 because the moving of funds from 23 and 24 wasn't all of them. And so we are actually going to be doing a call for cost overrun projects for those funds in the coming months. And so you'll see that come to you probably in October, I believe, to program those funds once we do a call and make sure that everyone has a chance to apply for the funds. And with that, I can take any questions.
Rick Cooper. I have a question on the Bradley Road and Academy. The way that's worded, I looked it up on a map and I can't figure out where Bradley Road and Academy meet with, and then the Academy to, Hancock. I looked on the map and I don't see the connections.
Okay, let me look real quick. From South Academy to Hancock. I think I saw.
I found the
Yeah,
roundabout
it's
there at Bradley and Academy. What I haven't found is
Yes.
where it hooks with Hancock, where Hancock is involved.
Not
I'll
right
have
there.
to look
It's
into.
not right there.
I'd have to look into that a little bit more since I'm not exactly sure where these projects are. But I can figure that out for you and let you know.
I
Hey,
appreciate
Catherine,
that.
this is Victoria.
Oh, you are on the line. Good.
I am on the line. Hancock becomes Main Street, so you might be looking at Bradley from Main Street.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's that segment between Academy and Main Street in Security Widefield area.
yes,
Oh,
security.
so it's not Hancock,
It's Hancock north
It's in-
of Bradley and south of Bradley, it's Main Street.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Catherine? Catherine, are we ready to go ahead and accept a motion then?
Yep, that's all good on my end.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Miley Foster. I'll go ahead and move, recommend the Board of Directors approve the recommended adjusted project funds listed in attachment 2 as amendment number 5 to the fiscal year 21-24 tip. So it says,
Great. Do I have a second?
Second, Ed Dills.
Thank you, Ed. Any additional comments before we vote? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Okay. All right, Samantha, I think we are up to you.
Can you all hear me?
Again,
Yes.
Great. All right, now I just need to share my screen with you real quick. Can you all see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So good afternoon, members of CAC. I hope you all are having a happy and healthy, I hope you all are happy and healthy at this time. My name is Samantha Bailey. I'm the environmental planner here at PPACG, working on air and water quality efforts throughout the region. I brought forth to you today an action item to approve the Air Quality Technical Committee's Ozone Advanced Program strategies. Let me give you some quick background on these, on the strategies and the program as well before we make the motion. I believe the last time I saw you all was like, you know, back in February, and then the pandemic happened. So I just wanted to make sure I gave you some background information since a lot happened since the last time I got to talk to you. So just to quickly recap, ozone is one of 6 criteria pollutants being monitored under the Clean Air Act. Ozone is a highly reactive gas composed of volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides. Both are natural and man-made product that occurs both in the Earth's upper atmosphere, within the stratosphere, and the lower atmosphere. So when I speak to ozone in the Pikes Peak region, I'm speaking of ground level ozone. Ground level ozone in high concentrations cause a variety of issues, from disrupting natural flora cycles in the outside world, and of course human health impacts. High ozone pollution is often referred to as sunburn on your lungs. A lot of causes go into producing ozone. Energy generating units like coal power plants, passenger vehicle emissions, as well as highway and mobile truck vehicle emissions produce ozone, and wildfire smoke. When the state conducted an air emissions inventory in 2014, they found that vehicle emissions in Colorado Springs and our metropolitan area are the main source of ozone, both in volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides. The current standard for ozone in the Clean Air Act is 70 parts per billion. If an area has the 4th highest ozone max over a rolling 3-year average that is above 70 parts per billion, then that area is out of compliance with the Clean Air Act. This results into a lot of requirements over decades of work to ensure that we are protecting public health by lowering ozone pollution. On this next slide, this is data that was verified by the state. All air monitors in our region are owned by the state and are monitored by the state, and then they report that information to EPA. So as of the end of July, our 4th highest max is at 64, which is below 70 parts per billion. But that doesn't take into account the last 2 weeks with all the Colorado wildfires happening. Like I said, this is only data from the end of July. I promise to bring either this data or someone from CDPHE to you at the September CAC meeting so we can go over the summer ozone data and what that means for the Pikes Peak region if we are above or below compliance with the Clean Air Act. So I believe the last time I talked to you, I wanted to mention to you that we have taken part in the EPA Ozone Advanced Program. So I believe back in January, PPACG committed to this program. It's a completely voluntary program that's hosted at the Environmental Protection Agency. So it's a nationwide program. It's looking for participants to promote local actions that are in attainment. So right now the Pikes Peak region is in attainment, meaning that we are in compliance with the Clean Air Act to reduce ozone. So it comes with a variety of different benefits and just a little bit of requirement. And because of my position here at PPACG, already working towards ozone pollution reduction, it just felt like a no-brainer to be a part of this. And it comes with great benefits. It gives us a direct partnership with EPA. So let's say if this summer we do end up being out of compliance with the Clean Air Act, they are already aware of the strategies that were taking place in order to reduce ozone, as long as knowing who we are at PPACG rather than having to go through the state. We also get financial opportunities specific to Ozone Advanced Program participants. So every month I get like a 10-page document from EPA listing technical training opportunities, conferences, financial opportunities, all relating to lowering ozone pollution. So it's just a great way to get information directly to us than having myself going out there looking for it. The only requirement, because this program is voluntary, we just need to supply an annual path forward plan. So a planning document that's listing all these strategies that we plan to put forward to reduce ozone in our region. What's really exciting is that we are the first organization in all of Colorado to participate. So when we were officially introduced into this program, I got a lot of phone calls, for example, from the city of Aspen, who are also looking into this, being a part of this program. So not only we are the first to participate, but we already have phone calls coming in looking to us to offer leadership and guidance so others can also participate in this program. So in your CAC packet, there is an attachment of all the strategies that the Air Quality Technical Committee put forward to a vote today and approved on for you to review and approve on as well. By doing these path forward strategies, AQTC, I believe, met in every month of 2020, I think, except for March, because that's when the pandemic hit. So I wanted to give people a break to kind of figure out what was going on. So we did this as a stakeholder process with holding monthly AQTC meetings, as well as connecting AQTC with a lot of different groups like the Regional Air Quality Council in Denver. Denver is in non-attainment for ozone, so they're a good partner to work with since they already have projects in place to reduce ozone pollution, as well as other council of governments across the country who are a part of this program. And that's been a lot of fun too, just meeting with other council of governments who are a part of this program. And a few of them did presentations to AQTC. So not only, did they provide us, best management practices within this program, but we're also developing relationships with other council of governments. I do want to highlight throughout our discussions over the last few months with these strategies, I wanted to ensure that whatever strategies we decide to move forward, they are not only effective, but they're attainable. And we have some challenges that might make specific strategies tougher to do. Obviously with the pandemic, this is a huge challenge along with the unknowns of the pandemic. We have to switch to, virtual learning, virtual meetings, virtual project management, and that in itself can be an issue. And because of the unknowns of the pandemic, we have no idea if there's going to be another lockdown, when we're all going to be in the office again, things like that. So because of this, we looked in and made sure that all strategies can be done if in the worst case scenario, like we have another lockdown or something like that. Staff capacity is also an issue since I'm the only staff member in our environmental planning program, and air quality is only half of my position. As I mentioned earlier, I do both air and water quality efforts, so I can only dedicate 20 hours a week to these air quality strategies. And of course, like in every other government organization, there's financial capacity. We will be looking at applying for grants, which is one of the strategies listed. But at this moment, we don't have a lot of money to do whatever strategies we want. We really need to make sure that we're not fiscally constrained when we pick a strategy. So with those considerations, we chose 3 overarching themes that have about 5 strategies per theme. We have outreach and education, data collection, and administrative tasks. Outreach and education is pretty obvious. We need to get the word out to all audiences about ozone and what they can do to take action against ozone pollution. We're working with local area school districts, some of our programs like our AAA program here at PPACG, to get the word about the health effects with older adults that we tend to work with, and as well as the general public. Data collection can be done virtually, so we're looking at projects that can turn the data that we currently have. For example, I have Mountain Metro Transit sending me their monthly passenger rates, so how many people are participating in Mountain Metro Transit passenger routes, and turning that data into something easily digestible or visual So the general public understands, you know, not only understands the data, but feels like they can make an improvement by looking at that data. And of course, administrative, looking for grant and funding opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, I am a little bummed that I always feel this way though, that I should be doing more and I'd love to do more. But as I mentioned, I think in a previous slide or two, this plan is annual. So we have, you know, next year to look at this and also improve on this path forward plan. Ideally, you know, I want to make this plan, you know, be bigger and better every year. And as I mentioned as well, you can find specifics on these strategies within your packet as an attachment. Before I move forward, are there any specific questions regarding these strategies?
This is Dave Betzler. A question on the data collection theme 2 that you had.
Yes.
You talked about, you know, the visual display of this information of, and the trends. I think that's really a great idea. And it's great that it's going to be, you know, at least the plan is to put a strategy, put it on the PPACG website. Would it also include links to other municipalities and organizations? Because I think if it really is centralized at PPACG, getting it out to others at the same time or making links available to other jurisdictions would be really helpful.
Yes, and I actually do that already on our website. I'm not exactly sure yet what these data dashboards may look like. I'm really excited because we have just a public constituent that attends our Air Quality Technical Committee meetings, and he actually made a dashboard. He's from Manitou Springs. He made a data dashboard specific to the monitor that's in Manitou Springs. So I'm hoping to work with him more and develop some sort of data dashboards for a variety of different data categories. But to bring to your attention, I always try to list our partners just because I love to think that PPACG knows all, but there's always going to be stuff that we don't know. So if you go to ppacg.org, air-quality-resources, we have all of our publications available to the public to download. But then I also link all of our partners, and not just people that are active in the Air Quality Technical Committee. If I hear about, you know, a group that is doing some sort of air quality effort, like our indoor air, there are a few indoor air organizations in Colorado. It's not necessarily in our realm, but they asked us to post their website. So if someone needs that information, they can just click it. So yes, I appreciate that comment, and I try very hard to make sure that everyone is included. Are there any other questions or comments regarding these strategies before I move forward? I'm going to take a quick drink of water. Water's so good. Okay. And I'll just touch on this briefly. This is a timeline that I provide to our Air Quality Technical Committee. I like to consider myself a project manager, and having a good timeline keeps you on task. So we spent the summer obviously researching and discussing the ozone strategies that we brought forward to you today. In September and October, hopefully once those strategies are approved, we can begin developing the path forward plan. You may notice in your attachment that on the last page, I also typed up a path forward plan structure, because we're not only going to include information on the strategies and projects that we have in mind, we do have to include our air quality data, and as well as include what other organizations are doing. So for example, UCCS, they have an ozone garden. So they have a self-made ozone monitor out at their campus with a garden surrounding it, and they're actually taking measurements of those plants and seeing how high ozone days impact plant growth. Unfortunately, they're so busy they can't, you know, be a part of AQTC at the moment, but they deserve to have their efforts and the work that they're doing with ozone within our path forward plan. So by developing a nice report, I hope to have to bring that back to you hopefully by November for final approval. And then we have to go through our PPACG approval process with our board of directors as well. We do need to submit this path forward plan by January of 2021. So we're getting pretty close. It's just 4 months away. So next steps I have. So I recommend to you today to approve the strategy list. Once approved, obviously this strategy list will be brought to the board of directors. And once approved there, we'll begin developing our path forward plan. Submit it to EPA by January of 2021. And then as soon as we have the okay, we can start implementing those strategies for the year. Because we're going to be doing a lot in 2021 with all these strategies I have listed to you today, I'll be sure to provide you with regular updates so you are aware of what action is happening with each strategy, and so you know how far along we are and what the results of those strategies will be. And then probably by this time next year, we'll be doing this all again. We'll either be growing off of the current strategies that we have before you today, or maybe we'll just come up with a whole new strategy list. Who knows, but I'm glad that we're doing this often because Ozone's on the forefront of the Pikes Peak region.
Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, and with that, I'll take any questions or comments. And before you make a motion, I am very open to any suggestions or ideas that you would like to see, either within the Path Forward plan or if of any of these specific strategies. As the Community Advisory Committee, you guys are representatives of, the Pikes Peak region. And so if you see something, I may not know about it. So if you have any ideas, or if you're watching the news one day and think of something, please let me know. I'd love to consider that either in this iteration or for the next round of our Path Forward plan. As well as if you're interested in any of these strategies listed, let me know and I'd love to meet with you or have you involved some way in that project.
Any questions or suggestions for Samantha? Take that as a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Would anybody like to move to recommend this?
I move. Rick Hoover.
Thank you, Rick.
I'll second Terry Hayes.
Thank you, Terry. Any further discussion before we vote? Great. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Fantastic. Good work, Samantha. Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like we have you for one more item.
All right, so this is an informational item. I brought forward this plan to you. It feels like a very long time ago because of the pandemic, but I believe back in November of 2019. I brought forward to you the PPACG 2019-208 Water Quality Management Plan. You can link, I'll be sure to have either one of the Jessicas send you these slides or the link. You can find our water quality plan on our website. Again, ppacg.org/water-quality-plan. And Jessica McMullen did a very nice job. It's a 300-page document, so she was able to separate it out into chapters for you to be able to read it. So just a quick overview of this plan, because like I said, you guys haven't seen it in a while. Obviously, it covers the watershed health of Park, Teller, and El Paso counties. So we have 5 watersheds within our region: the Upper South Platte, the South Platte, Upper Arkansas, Fountain Creek, and Chico Creek. So this document is an overall an overall summary of the watershed health of each of those water basins. So they talk about, potential contaminants. For example, Fountain Creek is seeing a lot of E. coli contamination, and then they make recommendations based on what they find regarding the water health. So for example, again, with Fountain Creek having a lot of E. coli contamination, ensuring that we work towards cleaning up around Fountain Creek, because Fountain Creek is a digestible bacteria. So ensuring that we either clean up after homeless camps, or ensuring that, if there is a homeless camp nearby the water, that they are taken care of and not polluting our water. With that, the PPACG Board of Directors approved our 208 plan on November 13th. And that was planning on being brought to the state back in May, but with the pandemic, we got pushed back. So we actually had our administrative action hearing for the state to approve this 208 plan, I believe a week or two ago on August 10th. And thankfully it was approved. And not only was it approved, we got really high remarks from the Water Quality Control Commission at the state level, just stating that they're very impressed that we took a regional approach to this. Not all regions in Colorado participate in this 208 water quality management plan process. So they're really, again, looking to us to be more of a leader. Since I think there's only 2 other groups in Colorado that do this, they really want to push for more regional water plans. So that was exciting. Oops, sorry. Just to quickly go over how we updated that very large document. We utilized a stakeholder process. We have members from we have our own water quality management committee, and some of the members from other area water interest groups. So the Arkansas Fountain Creek Coalition, AFCURE, I'm trying to think of, they have a really long acronym, but it's the Arkansas and Fountain Creek group, as well as CDPHE and the Fountain Creek Watershed District. There's also a water group called CUSP, or the Coalition of the Upper South Platte. So we worked with a lot of different groups to make sure accurate information was available within our 208 plan. With this group, we identified goals and objectives for this update, and we did it based on each watershed. So we looked at water quality assessments, looked at regional policies, point and non-point sources, obviously the management associations and watershed groups that I mentioned earlier, and then we also added recommendations for the plan. Obviously, we had to change the population projections. The 2010 version was very well thought out, but I think that was before Colorado had the population boom after 2013. So it was funny because I was reading through the 2010 plan, and they actually predicted a population decrease in our region. And that's definitely not the case anymore. So we had to update our population projections. Obviously, with government change and updates, we had to make revisions to regional policies, updates to major water quality issues. My predecessor, he made this report, I believe was over 400 pages. I got it down between 250 and 300. It's still a large document, but he did just have a lot of very small print, very hard to read information in there. So we consolidated a lot of the information and made it more reader friendly, because I do expect the general public to be able to understand this 208 plan. And then of course, based on all the regional policy changes or contaminant changes, we revised conclusions and recommendations for each watershed. Because this had to go to the state for a administrative action hearing for them to approve it, it legally had to go through a public comment period. So the state organized that process. They did it, excuse me one second. So it was posted on CDPHE's website from June 29th to July 27th. We sent a link to CDPHE's webpage to all of our regional partners that are involved with water quality, as well as posting on social media and having our partners share that link to social media as well. So we did what we could virtually. I was not comfortable holding a public forum just because that could be usually done in person, and I didn't want to, get coronavirus or anything. So we did what we could virtually. CDPHE also did a lot of outreach as well, and we received no comments, which is a good sign. I didn't have to change anything with the document because we didn't get any public comments. So this was my first time making a 208 plan. I'm not sure if all of you know, but in my previous experience, I did do water policy for the state of Wisconsin. So I was excited to be a part of a 208 plan because I was usually the one collecting 208 plans on my end. So this whole experience was just a learning lesson for me. But of course, I had technology challenges, specifically remaking this document since it hasn't been updated since 2010. Microsoft Word refused to revert the 2010 document into the latest, 2020 version. So that made the whole process of redoing this document just really tedious and time consuming. I would also, I was hired on to PPACG just at the tail end of writing up this 208 plan. PPACG had a consultant, Brown and Caldwell, kind of take the reins on this. So I kind of got the tail end of completing this 208 project. But if I was more involved, I definitely would like to extend work with other groups. So for example, like I said, there's 2 other 208 agencies within Colorado. We should really be talking to each other and sharing best practice strategies, as well as talking to our neighbors in the South, the Pueblo Area Council of Governments. We share, the Arkansas River, and, we share a watershed together. So we should at least, be on the same page as to what improvement projects should be done with watersheds that we share other jurisdictions with. Project management, I think, I'm always going to be learning new skills when it comes to, managing people, ensuring that deadlines get on time, things like that. And then communication. Like I said, I was a new staff person at PPACG, so I wasn't sure who to contact, who to reach out, and sometimes I would get a name from someone, and I would get an out of office or an out of work response. So just ensuring that I'm regularly working with, WQMC members and keeping this on the forefront. I don't want this 208 plan just to sit on the shelf now that it's completed. So ensuring regular communication, with my water folks, but also, with CAC and PPACG board, so you guys are aware of what improvements we're making based off of the recommendations in the plan. Of course, I have to tell you about some potential impacts that weren't listed in the plan, but that are there. Obviously, the big one is post-pandemic. There's not a lot of data out there that's talking about the environmental impacts because we're still in the middle of it. But I can say from personal experience, I love being outside. I love going for walks and runs, and I live very close to Fountain Creek. And the #1 trash item I pick up are those blue paper masks. So even though there's no data on it, I see it happening. So I am confident that there's going to be some environmental issues when it comes to the pandemic. Obviously, financial budgets are extremely tight right now, so I'm hoping that we can still implement projects listed without being constrained by a tight budget. And then, of course, a lot of these recommendations within the 208 plan calls for, restoring land use, ensuring that, the water is treated and things like that. But when it comes to, that hard labor and technical work, that requires a group of folks to be out together to do that work. So with safety precautions in line, like social distancing, that might be tough to make headway on projects if folks can't, work together in person. Obviously, I believe you all are well aware as to what PFAS is. If not, we can always chat more offline, but PFAS is a contaminant. It's being found here in Fountain Creek, mainly from one of the military installations. They're finding PFAS in their firefighting foam, and that's getting into Fountain Creek. The state is doing a lot of work with PFAS, and so are the local agencies in the Pikes Peak region. But we do mention PFAS a little bit in the 208 plan, but for all we know, there could be new regulation or ordinances required of PFAS that we just can't predict, and that's not going to be in the 208 plan, and it's a 10-year planning document. Of course, wildfires and droughts impact the watershed. Anne, in your CAC group, she brought up a concern about water supply and demand. And I hope you're listening to me, but I really wish I could answer your concern, but because the 208 document is a water quality document, it's not a water quantity document. So we really are looking at the health of the water, not so much how much is out there. I do work with folks that are working at this issue, especially Colorado Springs Utilities. I know that they have a task force that works on water supply demand, at least for El Paso County in this area. So I could always connect you with the people that I know at Colorado Springs Utilities. But like I said, we're looking at the quality of the water, not the quantity. So that's why I can't really speak to that since it's not in our 208 plan. And then of course, you know, there's always going to be new or updated policies and regulations that the state may need to see fit in order to be most effective when it comes to watershed health. So what is next for PPACG? Now that the plan was approved by the state, we can officially implement it. So right now, the big thing we need to do is a lot of education and outreach so folks know that the plan is there. One thing Jessica McMullen and I are doing are making fact sheets, because like I said, it's a 300-page document. I want to make kind of summary sheets of each watershed. So if someone doesn't have a lot of time, they can easily skim through this fact sheet and maybe find the information that they're looking for. So not only doing education and outreach to get the 208 plan out there, but also making material so it's a lot easier to read. As I mentioned before, building new relationships. I'd love to work with other COGs and other watershed groups that maybe weren't a part of this process that should have a seat at the table at the next iteration of this 208 plan. And of course, we have to, like I said, I'm going to make sure this plan doesn't just sit on the shelf. We need to, do something with it. So we will take those recommendations and try to make improvement projects out of them. And with that goes to applying for funding opportunities so we can do as much as we can with what money we have. And then of course, PPACG and Andrew Gunning, they're great about community involvement. This is us, this picture is staff from PPACG, from AAA and transportation, all taking part in Fountain Creek's Creek Week cleanup. That's going to be happening again, I believe, in the end of September, that we will take part of in a socially distant manner. But there's also lots of other ways for PPACG to be involved when it comes to watershed improvement. And then just to make sure that we keep this document relevant with everyone, the state requires an update to our 208 plan every 10 years. I'm going to make it every 5 years. This not only aligns well with our other transportation planning documents, since they are also on a 5-year cycle, but it just keeps the information relevant and ensuring that the improvement projects we have in mind are going forward. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I also included the folks from Brown and Caldwell. As I mentioned earlier, I was kind of at the tail end of this project, so I wasn't involved in the content development process, but Andrew and Samantha are fantastic. They're very nice. So I'd be more than willing to make that connection for you if you have a question specifically to them as well.
Samantha, Rick Hoover, what are the other 208s you mentioned? I think she left.
Other 208 plans or other 208 agencies?
She said there were two other 208s in the state, but she didn't mention who they were.
Yes. One of them has a really long acronym, but they cover Fort Collins in that region, so northern Denver. They're a 208 agency. And then I believe there's one on the southwest side of the state. I just don't know their names off the top of my head. I see their acronyms, but obviously the acronym won't help you in this situation. So what I can do is I can link their websites and send that over to Jessica McMullen or Jessica Bechtel and send that information to all of you. I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. Like I said, they're really long names, so I don't want to butcher them.
That's okay. I was just wondering who else was at least somewhat as progressive as we are on this kind of thing.
Yeah, so Denver was involved. Dr. Cog, so the transportation, the PPACG of, Denver, they used to do 208 planning, but then they deferred it back to the state. So usually what happens is if there are no regional planning agencies, it goes to the state to make that content on behalf of that region, which then goes to the EPA. So this really does make our region, have a more hands-on approach and have more involvement as to what should be said in the 208 plans versus just having someone at the state do it.
Thanks for keeping us in the lead. I hate to be a follower.
Same. I'm not a good.
This is Donna Wood, and I have a question. And that is, if you get information from the Department of Interior, the Bureau of Land Management, on their plans that impact our watershed.
They are not referenced, nor I can't speak for Brown and Caldwell. I have not worked with the Department of Interior, but that would be a great relationship to have. So I'm going to write that down and make it happen.
Especially because they recently released a report on changes of just kind of the Rocky Mountain region east of the Continental Divide. And I only looked at it briefly, and I thought I saw that they're opening a lot more land in eastern Colorado for drilling, and wanted to understand how that would impact us in El Paso County.
Yeah, and I obviously can't speak to that because I didn't even know. I mean, you obviously know more about the Department of Interior than I do. And obviously, yeah, and then obviously that could cause a huge impact to the Pikes Peak region. I have some pretty good, Googling skills, so I'll definitely reach out to the Department of Interior. And that's another thing too, I should have put, kind of on this, I don't know if it's challenges or lessons learned page or what, but, there was a lot of different groups that I thought should have been that should have been a part of this process, and they weren't. And I don't know, I just don't know what I don't know, if that makes any sense. So I really appreciate you, bringing up the Department of Interior, because that's, that's an important group that obviously is going to have some involvement to potential water contamination if they do open oil and drilling. So thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Samantha?
Ann Ash, could I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Ann, and then it looks like John after that.
Oh, okay. Hi, Samantha.
Hi, Ann.
I sent you that question, about, is she there still?
I am.
Oh, sorry. When I zoomed in on a water quality commission, the state commission, and I happened to get in on, they were licensing oil wells in Aurora, Colorado, and the state did it and so they don't have a 208 plan, you're saying, up in that area?
If they do, so we do 208 planning statewide. It's just dependent on if a regional entity or an organization decides to take that on. And if there's an organization that does it, then it's deferred to the state.
Well, what I was concerned about, as I wrote to you, and I don't know what'll happen, I'm not against oil at all. I don't mean that, but they were going to use recycled water to drill oil wells with in Aurora, quite a few wells, and it's been approved now by the state. And then when the water is all used up, they let me ask a question of the engineer. And I said, what happens to that water? And they take it out in the plain somewhere and deep six it into the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's poisonous water. And I think, well, gee whiz, what if they're doing it down here in PPHCG area?
Mm-hmm.
That would affect our water quality in El Paso County, if you want to look at it just for selfish reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why I brought that up. I'm just very interested in water quality and supply as we develop more and more people. And I'm quite elderly, 83 years old, but my father was a water expert lawyer back before the EPA started. And so I've kept up with it a long time. So that's why I'm just kind of pushing that a little bit too. Thank you.
Please push, especially with community advisory members. You guys, like I've mentioned earlier, you're representatives of our community, and hopefully you vote for who you want representing your values. But
sure.
And you keep bringing up, fantastic points with, water supply demand. And I mean, I've been working in, environmental policy and compliance and stuff like that for almost 10 years. And it is very common practice, not just with, poisonous water, but with other materials to just dig it in the ground and then put more dirt over it and then forget about it and act like it never happened, So there's a lot of different ways to go about that, but a lot of, corporations just choose to dig it.
Well, a long time ago, the farmers near Wichita didn't realize there was an underground aquifer, and Wichita had polluted the Arkansas and Nenasko rivers, so they sold their water, and it started killing the land, and that's how my dad got involved.
Yeah.
So it's just those unintended consequences that do happen. And I'm glad you do it every 5 years. That's great.
Yes.
It does need to be quicker.
Yeah. I wish we could do it all, but as you all know, PPACG is, an advisory group. We can't, regulate things. I wish we could, because I think we'd all have some really good regulatory action. So we're only limited to what we can do, but I think the nice thing about my position is that I get to work with a lot of, city and county members. So,
and that's good. All your 208 plan, it's all just advisory. It's not law. So, but you have to keep trying. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, to your point, Anne, just if you, always think of me if you have a question or a concern, and I'll be sure to find the right person to either get you an answer or see what's being done about it. So,
all right.
So I appreciate the CAC. Yes, thank you.
All right, John, did you have a question or comment for Samantha?
Yes, I did. Samantha John DeVoe from Woodland Park. When that fire broke out up on the top of Pikes Peak, the very small one that contained right away, there was concern about the watershed that empties into. Do we have any kind of ways of monitoring that? And if there's particulate matter or that type of thing, if something like that happens, in case we have a problem like for quality or something like that, in that case, I got it out pretty quick.
Yeah. So I don't know what watershed impacts that little fire over on Pikes Peak will do. That's going to take a little bit of data and research, but I try to keep up with those studies, especially with my partners at the state. So I can certainly let you know. It's just, I think that fire happened like on Monday, right? So I still think there needs to be, some tests and data to be done, but I'll be sure to let you know. But I'm surprised that I didn't get this question in my air quality presentation, because today I met with the Air Quality Technical Committee, and I invited the state to just do a brief overview of the wildfire impacts that is, causing our region. And surprisingly, it's not just the Colorado wildfires, but it's also the California wildfires that are bringing in smoke and particulate matter into our region. So from August 4th to August 25th, Colorado College, they have a particulate matter, so dust, ash, things like that. They have a particulate matter monitor. And in between 2010 and 2019, the average was 7.3 EGUs. For 2020, it went up 94.5% with 14 EGUs. So just a huge, impact to our air quality just with dust and ash alone from the wildfires blowing into the Pikes Peak region. Same goes with ozone. We saw a 14% increase compared to previous years, being at the Air Force Academy monitor at 64.6 from the wildfires. And then the average ozone concentration in Manitou Springs went up 13% with 62.5 parts per billion, while in years past, it's always been 55.1. So we are seeing a lot of environmental impact from the wildfires. As I mentioned, water involves a little bit more testing than air. We have nice air sensors that can tell us what's there, but testing requires a lot of sampling. So I think that's going to take a little bit of time, but I'll be sure to follow up with you.
Any other questions or comments for Samantha?
Lauren did. Lauren.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Samantha.
Yes, thank you all.
Jessica, we're ready for a strategic plan update.
Hey, thank you all. So as you guys have heard, and I've given you a few little tidbits about it happening, we are looking at doing the strategic plan update. We started the process in June, July. At the beginning of July, the PPACG Board of Directors agreed that we could go ahead and do this update and began the process. So the Board of Directors has split into different small groups who are each meeting on an individual part of the strategic plan on one of the 5 goals. Those groups will have completed their meetings as of Monday the 31st. So we'll have all of those recommendations. Those will go to the TAC, CAC, and RAC in September. So you'll all get the opportunity to see them, see the board's recommendations, and get the chance to add your comments and feedback. In October, those will go to the strategic plan. Those will go to the board of directors with all of the input from committees and the small groups. So the link to the strategic plan was included in your agenda. And if you're ever curious what the strategic plan is, the goals are listed on every single agenda item because we make no actions that don't relate to it. Whether it's advocacy, information sharing, aging, transportation, or program excellence, everything relates to them. So does anyone have any questions about what we're doing, how we're doing, why we're doing it, any of those things? Okay, well, I do want to just chime in. I'm really looking forward to bringing these to you guys next month and getting the chance for your feedback and your thoughts, and hopefully getting you extra engaged on the PPACG strategic plan because it's really important.
We'll give just one more opportunity for any questions or comments related to the strategic plan. Good. All right. Okay, so member discussion. This is the opportunity for members to make announcements that they feel might be relevant for the group. Anybody have anything they want to share?
Yes. John, Aubrey? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the Ford flag all about?
That's my husband's doing.
Okay.
I have no attachment to it. That's why I keep turning the, he's wondering about my Ford flag.
I actually have a couple of things, but I'll let Rick go first. It sounded like he was going to chat.
I just wanted to ask if this is the place where, like I mentioned to CDOT, representative about an approach lane, an acceleration lane that is so short and needs to be addressed? Or is that another venue that I would go to?
So that would not come through the CAC. That is something that we could help pass along for you to CDOT. Our staff members could. So if you just want to send me or Jessica Bechtel an email, we'll pass that along to CDOT so that they understand your concern and they can follow up with you.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, well, after you send it to us here at PPACG, we'll send it on to Shane Ferguson at CDOT Region 2, and they'll take a look at it.
Great. Okay, then I'm going to give you guys a couple of things because this past month has been pretty exciting. After presenting at the CAC meeting, Shane Ferguson actually sent us the MAMSIP fact sheet from CDOT. So that's the military access funding. So I'll be sending that out after this. And then there's some other really exciting news. The city of Colorado Springs is doing their council redistricting effort. So they have a website going where they are asking for input from the public on that. So I'm going to send you all that link. The city is seeking feedback on the future of mobility. So Connect Colorado Springs is doing a survey as well relating to transportation within the region, specifically within the city of Colorado Springs. And then, as Anne sent out, I just wanted to make sure you all saw the water section of Colorado's demand management feasibility investigation does have a place to provide feedback and links. So I'll send you directly that link to where to provide feedback. And then the last thing is the AAA, the Area Agency on Aging and ENT Retirement Series that normally takes place in the spring. It was scheduled for April, and we obviously had to cancel or reschedule it. It has been rescheduled. So it's going to begin September 21st. It'll be 4 Monday classes, one on Medicare 101, one on Social Security, one on estate planning, and one on planning for life after retirement. So I'll be sending out information on that, and it'll be available on our website as well. So there's me taking up Muncher member comment time.
That's great.
This is Tamara Dipner. A quick question, and we may have already covered it at another meeting. Does PPACG CAC have a plan of when we'll have our meetings back in person, or is it virtual through the rest of the year?
It has not yet been determined. We're still testing in a variety of different ways to find out what a hybrid would look like and when that might be feasible to allow the people who are comfortable coming in person to do that. We do not yet have that set up. September will be again, completely virtual meeting.
Okay,
so
thanks.
I don't have an answer for you beyond next month, and next month we're in Zoom.
That's okay. I think that's how everything is. It's just to be determined, constantly changing. So that's all right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other member announcements?
Hi, this is Shelley with the League of Women Voters. I have a couple of things. Everyone knows it's obviously election season, so this is more kind of for the group, but it is actually Happy Women's Equality Day. That is today. Yay. And it is the 100th anniversary. So the League is doing a big mural to celebrate women's right to vote. We do realize that not all women have had the right to vote for 100 years. So it's going to be kind of a compilation of 100 years celebration plus going forward. So we're going to be kind of kickstarting that as well. So if you know anyone who is interested in participating in a jury panel specifically to help with the mural, we're looking for women. Sorry, guys, women or women, people identifying as women as well, to be on the committee. And sorry, I know it's part of the whole encompassing diverse thing that the League is trying to do. So for us, it's pretty important because again, we're celebrating 100 years of voting, but it's only for 100 years for white women. And for us, it's a real big thing going forward. So if you know anybody, send it my way. I can get, you can get my number, however, but that would be very appreciative. Thank you.
you, Shelley. Okay. Any other member announcements? Good. All right. So it sounds like our next meeting is going to be virtual. Any requests for items or anything? Jessica, you want to tell us about the next meeting?
I did forget to mention one thing. This month of September is Neighbor Up month for Kono. So any support and participation any of you can have your communities do, please contact us at the Kono office so you can get the information. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any more information you want to share with the group about Neighbor Up, you can email that to Jessica and then she can share it out with the group.
Neighbor Up is simply it's a month of working with neighborhoods to increase their understanding of what they can do within them, the power they have within themselves, and working together to build a good organization and a community atmosphere. And it's done with block parties, and we furnish the street barricades. We also cover the city fee for parks and street arrangements, and so that the all of that is free. All you have to do is set up your program and contact us with it.
This is Ann. I forgot I'd like to mention something.
Go ahead, Ann.
I forgot to say Green Mountain Falls has experienced a great influx of hikers into our little town. That's been a concern. So it's caused a lot of little problems up there socially, unfortunately, but they've started a volunteer program called Ambassadors. And these are all volunteers that will try to educate hikers, just as volunteers about rules, protocols, you know, not to throw your garbage in the dog poop bags and things like that along the trails, and not to trespass. It'll be a nice program. We hope that will be very friendly to visitors to Green Mountain Falls. So thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Okay, any items for the next CAC meeting?
I have
I'm sorry. This is Sharon Brown, and could we possibly get maybe a brief update on how things are going in the Gap?
Yes, that'd be great.
Thanks, Sharon.
We will try to get that scheduled. We've got it as a request.
Okay. Thank you.
Ellie, did you have something you wanted to?
Yes, ma'am. In Samantha's Ozone report, it said, I believe the highest percent came from vehicles. Was that correct?
Right.
In our pollution? Was
the
that
highest man-made section?
In the man-made section? So I'd like to hear an update on what we do as a plan for our area on how to fix that man-made problem. What, like long-term, whether it's 5 years. I know we've talked about, you know, the rail and all that kind of stuff, but maybe an update on that if maybe missed that. Specifically for vehicles, if that's our number one for man-made, I'd like to know how we're going to get more vehicles off the road.
Good point.
Are you looking for someone from Mountain Metro's I lose the term in my brain, but basically I think there's a
travel reduction program, and so I think that would be probably be Metro. We could have them come in and talk about their travel reduction program.
That's a good start. Thank you, sir.
Ellie, were you here during the most recent long-term transportation plan process? I can't remember if you had joined the committee yet or not.
No, okay. Ma'am.
So there is a long-term transportation plan for the region, and it does include elements throughout that sort of address vehicle usage. And so it might be worth sort of taking a glance at that and seeing if you want more specific connections to the ozone plan. That would probably be a discussion had offline with Samantha.
Understood. Thank you.
All right, one last opportunity to chime in about items for the next CAC meeting. Great. All right. Good meeting. Everybody take care. See you virtually in September. Meeting adjourned.
Have a spectacular time, folks.
Thank you.
And extra thanks to you, Aubrey.
No problem. We had an extra guest today.
Oh, darling. Precious.
Aww.